Doug, good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm spectacular. I'm spectacular. It's Memorial Day weekend. What's that going to look like in the Shreve household?
I don't think I'm going to the race. One of us is. I'll watch the race, watch the Pacers, hang out with family, and probably grill something out. How about you?
How are you going to watch that race?
I'll listen to it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll
okay.
listen to it. I prefer listening to the race because have you done it?
Not for many years. That's all we did years ago.
It's fantastic. I mean, they have broadcasters in each of the four turns and then one covering kind of the main, spectacle. But hearing those cars and hearing the people deliver what they're seeing in each turn is a blast. And I prefer the Pacers on the radio too. I like Mark Boyle or whatever his name is.
Mark Boyle, yeah, that's it.
Boyle.
Yeah. I met uh, Donald Davidson
Ah, there you go. Yeah,
a few
that's
years
right.
ago.
You interviewed him.
Yeah, he's a historian, and he did a he's just a I don't even know if he's still living. I assume he is, but he did a remarkable job of like presenting the history of that race. When you would listen to it, I suppose is where he would be. Well, what do you think? What do we need to talk about today?
You've got the agenda.
I I woke up this morning, and I always try to give Doug a topic, and the topic was, what are poor ideas, like poor habits? And I think we've all had poor habits, those habits that would, if you continued them for an extended period of time, they would tend to leave your wallet thinner than thicker. And so that was the um, thought I had, because maybe some of you have friends who have poor habits and you don't want to tell them, but you let us tell them by sending them this video. So um, that was kind of my thought, Doug. I also have a friend. I was trying to figure out how to do this. I have a friend who sends me cartoons. I don't know if you guys have friends who do that, but he sends me cartoons all the time through emails. And I thought this was an appropriately timed cartoon. If you guys can see it, it's the punchline says, "I hate it when they put kittens in the impulse buying section." And I just thought that was ironic. Like, I heard many years ago, don't ever buy things that you have to feed.
Good.
So, and then also I was thinking, when I was thinking of this topic this morning, the diabolical nature of the checkout lane with all the impulse things there. So if you had a kitten
Yeah.
on the impulse lane, you would kill two birds with one stone. You'd get something that you have to feed,
Really funny.
uh, as well as just all the other things that are there. I think my oldest, one day we were at Walmart and she couldn't have been two or three, and something in the impulse aisle just set her off that she had to have that. And she has a strong-willed father, and so we had a showdown right there in the impulse aisle. And
Candy?
it must have been, yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't recall. And the cashier the whole time had her hand on the keyboard, ready to ring up whatever Caitlin wanted. And I'm like, I was thinking, you're probably gonna have to ring up a casket because I'm gonna kill this
You were
kid.
holding your ground.
I did not yield. I was like gritting my teeth and thinking we may have one less child by the time we get to the car. But the
Are you
cashier,
more impulsive today?
am I more impulsive? I think I've always had a certain level of impulsiveness, not necessarily spending, but for living, I think I have. Yeah, I'm a bit impulsive in what I might do, and but spending, I don't think I've ever really been impulsive in my spending, even as a kid. Yeah, I was the loan shark to my siblings because I always had cash and charge them usury rates. Do not pay usury rates. That's a poor habit.
That is a poor habit. That is poor thinking.
It is. It is gonna.
Usury rate, if you don't know what that is, it's just I think of like a credit card. they're using you, and not only they're using you, they're abusing you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's a credit card interest rate? 20%?
I heard that amount this week from somebody, yeah. Yeah.
That would be an example of a user rate.
Now, I think in historical days, it might have only been 3 or 4%, but people think so much differently today. But yeah, I think a poor habit would be to carry a balance on a credit card. I mean, that would be a poor habit to have because you're not only buying something that you can't afford with the credit card, but then carrying the balance, you're going to be paying a much higher rate of return than you could get investing or saving.
We have a client, he was so clear that he did not want to invest in anything that charged usury rates. He was so just upset and bothered. And I understand that. I think that's a honorable thing to want to fight against.
Mm, 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 mm. So what would you say if you're going to say this is a poor habit? What's a habit that would come to mind to you that would lead you to?
Heath, I'm glad you asked. So I had a lot of fun putting 10 poor habits together, and it took me, I don't know, 4 minutes.
I put it took me a while, and then I also cheated because I sent out a ton of texts asking people for one poor habit.
I don't know that these are in top 10 order for our replay where we could like flash a number 10 or
Yeah.
number 9. Yeah, so these are just in whatever order came to me. But the first poor habit that will help you remain poor, that was Keith's text to me. Hey, what are the 10 poor habits that help you remain poor? Number 1 that came to mind was stinking thinking. And if you were trapped in thinking about stuff that just is like sewer like, you're not going to be able to be objective and clear what you're aiming for. So stinking thinking is number 1 poor habit.
And on my business card, the number one idea for financial things is think differently. So that kind of is like, it's sometimes when you have stinking thinking, getting out of it's really hard.
I'm not sure if that was Norman Vincent Peale, but I like Norman Vincent Peale. He wrote a book, The Power of Positive Thinking. If you have some stinking thinking going on, or if you just like positive thinking, I recommend that book to you.
I think Zig Ziglar probably stole that from him because I remember Zig Ziglar using that phrase a lot too. If you don't know, those two guys were positive thinking kind of guys. They're
Steve Harvey would be another one who is the opposite of stinking thinking. He says, aim for the moon, and in case you miss, you'll hit the stars.
That's really good. Good. That's good. Good. I the first one that came to my mind on forward thinking is dishonesty because a great name is better than gold, and you can't really recover your reputation very easily, and so like guarding your reputation is a big deal, I think.
The quickest way after a screw up is honesty.
Yeah, I'm sorry I screwed up.
Yeah, when those happen, it's okay. And you can rebuild.
Yes. I think that's natural. I think little kids have to be dishonest to learn the cost of it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be hard on if you have little kids and they're dishonest, wouldn't be that hard on them. I'd just help redirect them, help them learn that that's probably not the best decision.
And if you're hard on them, you can redirect your own thinking. I stole my next one from my son Colton.
What'd Colton have?
No risk it, no biscuit.
No risk it, no biscuit.
He says that.
So he's saying you have to risk, huh?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So that's not a poor thing. That's
yeah, it is. If you can't risk it.
Don't take it. Don't put it at risk if you can't afford it, huh?
Or if you're not going to risk anything, you're not going to get ahead.
Yeah.
So you could be too safe. You could be, maybe it's control. You're just wanting control of something. You're not willing to put it at risk. Like I had to ask Caroline out on a date once. I
Right,
had to risk that,
right.
you know?
I have two friends, I'm not boasting, I'm just stating a fact that were Thunderbird pilots. And I think they would be poor today if they weren't Thunderbird pilots. If they didn't take their soul and risk their lives with it,
Yep.
they would be poor today because they'd be wondering, what if?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they risk it all. And a lot of pilots that are those kind of pilots don't survive, but that's part of life. I think it's to risk your soul. So maybe a poor habit would be not to risk the things that are important to you, which makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Well, impulsiveness was one that came to my mind, like just impulsive purchases.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when I think of impulsive purchases, I think of shiny things a lot of times, like the shinier the thing, the more I gotta have it right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought a 10-speed bicycle and that was a thing on credit from, I think it was Woolsey's Schwinn, I think was the name of it.
The store gave you credit?
Yeah, they did. I was paying them like $5 or $10 a month, something like that.
So not layaway, like you got to drive it home.
Oh yeah, and I missed the payment one time as a probably 12 or 13-year-old. I can't imagine anybody does that anymore. Do you like loans money to kids?
I
Yeah.
can't imagine it, but that seems kind of like Mayberry.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they're not in business anymore, so I don't know. I think a lot of those Schwinn shops shut down. I don't know if their quality dropped or what, but I think they've come back a little bit, haven't they, Schwinn?
Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. That was in the ancient days, but yeah, that was a shiny thing that I had to have. And I mean, I was delivering paper, so if I'd have waited a few weeks, I probably would have had the cash to do it.
That's good.
Yeah,
Maybe you needed the Schwinn to deliver the papers. So you were
I
just,
could rationalize that. Most of the time, a poor habit, you can rationalize it. That's what I like. Like when somebody over the years as an advisor, as people have been rationalizing things to me, I sit and stare. I'm like, I may even nod my head.
I
And
need this 1-ton truck to start my mowing business.
exactly.
And
I
I
mean,
need it to be from the Chevy dealer with a Duramax diesel engine.
I mean, those of you that ever watched, is there something you've impulsively wanted and you wanted it so badly you sold it to somebody else? Like, this is why I have to do this now. I mean, that is, I think that happened. I mean, you've heard clients or potential clients tell you those things, and I, as a younger man, I probably wouldn't have told them that they were. There was a stick song, "You're fooling yourself," is what I hear that, but today I probably tell them you're probably fooling yourself on that thing. Yeah,
What else you got?
I got all kinds of thoughts on
You
it.
got 10 or do you got more than 10?
I got all these that I borrowed from friends that were all pretty good too.
Well, I steal everything from my friends. So give me
This
give me
one,
one
this
for
one came
favorites.
across. This is from my friend Bill. This one cracked me up because gotta find where he put it here. Uh, the poor habit was making a list of poor habits. I thought that was hilarious. But I started thinking about it. It was like probably is a waste of time making a list of poor habits, but having a knowledge of for me, most of the poor habits I have come to recognize came from a good habit, a discipline. The discipline was today is the 24th of May. For probably a decade, I read whatever day of the month it was, I read that proverb, and the proverb gives you the Proverbs give you a recipe how to be poor. It tells you exactly how to be poor, and it says the poor man does this.
We've talked about compounding, the
Yeah.
compounding of one poor habit onto a little poor habit, another poor habit.
Yeah,
Stacks up.
yeah, and so I thought that was really interesting. Like probably a wealthy habit rather than making poor habits is pursuing the deep desires of your soul. If you're supposed to be a Thunderbird pilot, you have to maybe recognize I could lose my life doing this. But to do that, then I have to do these wealthy habits. I have to work out, I have to watch what I eat, I have to be disciplined. And you can't be a Thunderbird pilot without thinking the way a Thunderbird pilot thinks. So you could desire to do that. You could yearn to be a Thunderbird pilot, but maybe not do it unless you're willing to be
You
disciplined.
said your number one, let's see, you asked me name one poor habit and one wealthy habit, and you like said go, like it was urgent.
Well,
And so,
I copied and pasted that to not just you, Doug. I sent that to 100 of my
I
closest
now don't
friends.
feel special. But okay, so I said, okay, how about you? And you said excess and margin. So like, is excess a poor habit and margin a wealthy one, or is
That's what I thought. Yeah, like most things that are going to become poor habits are just doing things to excess, whatever that is. Like you could
okay?
become poor as a Thunderbird pilot by neglecting everything to become a Thunderbird pilot, like neglecting your family, neglecting all the other
And
things. Like
people cheer you on the whole way.
yeah, and you would probably end up poor, even though you might have accomplished it. Life is measured more by quantifiable things, and so the excess of a lot of things. Excess. If I'm eating too much, that's going to lead me to be poor. If um, if you're married and you do things to excess in spite of your spouse, you're probably not gonna be married for a long
Yeah.
time, and consequently, that's gonna cut whatever financial wealth you had in half. So, like excess.
So if I watch all 4 quarters of the Pacers game, while there's a bunch of stuff on the table and in the sink, that's probably not a good recipe.
Or if you just are, you're focused on all those things.
If I'm focused on all 4 quarters,
I
I don't know.
I
I'm
was-
just trying to get some real life experience, Keith.
was like,
Trying to keep it real.
I was thinking while you're watching it, you're yelling for somebody to bring you some food or something. That's not going to work well.
Those dishes, I can't hear Mark. What's his name?
Mark Boyle. Yeah. Yeah, no,
You will
My-
be poor in spirit.
my excess sense of humor could have got me in trouble a lot of times over the years. So that excess was like when I looked at the list of things that look like poor habits to me. If I am gonna drink a beer, that's probably not gonna cause me to be poor. If I'm gonna drink a case of beer every night, that excess is gonna cause me all kinds of problems. If I'm gonna eat ice cream, probably do that occasionally. If I'm gonna do it every day, I'm not gonna have this childlike figure that I do today. So that was what I just think. Moderation probably tends to be a less poor habit pattern.
At the Carmel graduation last night, a guy came up and there goes Wes. The guy came up and gave a great speech. He talked about the benefits of failure and he encouraged people to fail often. This was a kid talking. I was so impressed by him. And I didn't put failure as a poor habit, but I did put lack of correction. And so if you don't have some times in your life where you're just getting your butt kicked, I feel sorry for you because you don't have the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to do things differently. And so I think not failing could be a poor habit.
What I was thinking about that in another way, like avoiding the answer no was what I thought was a poor habit. Like I was just having the conversation that money is it's really honest and dishonest at the same time. Like money will let you borrow money. Like people that control money will let you borrow it until they won't let you borrow it anymore. And at the end of the day, money is a really honest thing because at some point, if you've not used it well, it's not going to let you have anymore. And it's going to say, no, you can't have anymore. And so the answer no is like accepting no as an answer and thinking about why did I get no as an answer. Maybe I didn't make an athletic team and they said no, or maybe I didn't get a job and they said no. those things seem like failure. Yet, I think a poor habit is to not want to accept those and be honest about the answer no and why did I get no? It doesn't mean you can't go back at it, right? I probably, before I got in the investment business, had 5 or more businesses tell me no. And so I had to go, okay, what's it going to take to get to yes? But if I would just,
how many prospects do you think have told you no?
oh, like I miss not having a traditional phone on my desk because of how many cold calls I made in the day. But that no, all of that builds up
Helps you be better.
perseverance. Perseverance then leads to character, and character leads to hope. Yeah, so like, yeah, not being able to accept no is a stumbling block to ever getting to the idea of hope.
I've been around folks who say no to adventure, and I think that's just sad. I think that's one of the poorest habits a person can get into. And one of your phrases, Keith, is you say yes to excellent things, and learning to discern what is excellent is a really important thing to figure out. But if you say no to everything, you're gonna really miss out. And so I don't know if this is the recipe, but maybe you just do the opposite of these things for a little while and see how it works out.
Well, I had I was,
Say yes to just about every opportunity that comes your way.
yeah, I was asked in
Shock people.
2023 to say yes to 2 of my children to officiate their weddings. And that was an honor. And Connie, as she was preparing as the mother of the bride and the groom, was watching all kinds of social media things about Indianapolis weddings, I guess. And one of the things that people were looking for that I had no idea, they were looking for officiants of weddings because people don't go to church buildings anymore. Like young people don't. I mean, you might, but I'm saying in masses, it's not a thing that happens. And so they don't have a local pastor, so they need somebody to officiate that. And Connie goes, "Why don't you do that?" And I'm like, Connie,
Yes, man.
you know how much a officiant gets
I'm
to
trying
do
to
a
watch
wedding?
the Pacers game.
You get paid $200 on average to do a wedding, which includes a rehearsal night, right? And all day the day of the wedding. So if you break that down to an hourly wage, it's not a very good one. And so last night I had this couple, my barber's stepson, which is a really funny sentence, asked me to officiate his wedding. And so I met with him out here last night.
You
and
can find Keith on wingitweddings.com.
Exactly. And so I was telling them that as a newlywed couple, they have to learn to say no to good things and yes to the excellent. And as a matter of fact, that I considered hanging out with them as an excellent thing, which it's quite an adventure to try to be involved with somebody's young marriage. It's an interesting aspect of life.
I want to share one of the poorest things you can get yourself involved in, and that's not having any friends. And friends can really inspire learning. How many people are just so close-minded? And these are smart people. They've learned a lot in life, but they've stopped learning. And you can learn a lot from your friends. And something that's been great in my life recently are my younger friends. And when I say younger, these couple guys are probably 15 years younger than me. And I've done a lot of learning through them, and I've leaned on them. And so it would be really, really poor to not have any friends.
Mm, mm. That's another reason why I said yes to this young couple last night is that it occurred to me having studied retirement and what that looks like, that it's important, it's a wealthy decision to keep adding younger friends, because if all your friends are your age, guess what? They all start disappearing at the same time. And if you're the last one standing, you can be very lonely. But to have young friends around you, you can learn the culture and you can share your culture with them as well. So now I think that's a wise idea, Doug. Well, shall we break away from this topic? I'd love to hear what you guys think are poor habits. And I'm happy if any of you are interested to send you more of the feedback that we had on that, because it's a really interesting idea.
I got one more.
Yeah. Shoot it at me, Doug. What do you
Okay, it's being afraid.
Ooh.
and living in fear. And so the antidote to that is courage.
Yeah.
And it takes doing something that you can't see to have courage. And the stinking thinking is getting trapped in that whether it's failures of the past or failures or fear of the future, whatever it is. Look for courage today. And it's Memorial Day weekend. I mean, it's a weekend when we celebrate courage.
Mm.
And so whatever that looks like for you, if it's just going to McDonald's and actually sitting in there alone and having a quarter pounder or whatever courage looks like for you, I'd love to see you do that this weekend.
Well, I'll throw one more that somebody sent us along the way of courage is that you can also sometimes feel like a victim if you didn't get your way, and getting out of that stinking thinking that this planet is not a safe place. So you are going to probably not get your way on occasion, and you're not a victim. It's just the way the system works. You just need to pick yourself up and move on. And that sometimes is, you may need a friend to do that. So that's good. Shall we look at the market real quick, or what do you think?
It's up to you. Got a couple minutes.
We do. Let's fire this thing up real quick. And I'll share this with y'all. I hope you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend if we get past this real quick here. Share.
Hey, Libby, do you see a chart on your screen?
It's up.
Okay.
So,
Thanks.
so the NASDAQ, I had drawn a line here a few weeks ago, channel lines is what I called it. And if I just extend the lower part of it from here out, that's where the lower part, we were trending in this channel for quite a while, and now we've got this lower channel line, and maybe we're going to trend up this way as we go forward. I don't know.
You mind zooming out to a weekly on that one?
I don't mind.
What's that tell us?
Well, we've had 4 or 5 really good weeks right here.
So one of the things like Keith has said before, if we were to print this chart off and just paste it across the room and ask you, hey, what direction is this going in? It looks like it's going up. And how long it goes up, we have no idea. We have no clue. You have no clue. Be honest with yourself. But if we look at it, we can say, man, it has really looked pretty good. And I think this is the result of a lot of innovators, a lot of people who are forward thinking big, taking risk and doing things differently. And we know this will pull back. We know that semiconductors won't lead the way, and stocks like NVIDIA, there's always going to be something like that. I mean, Apple news, Apple earnings used to be the talk, the concern, Tesla. I mean, there's always something out there that is the talk. But this is a place for innovators to bring forth their ideas to the marketplace. And we don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, it could have a 15-year drought. But nevertheless, we're in a good season right now. And there's been some positive tailwinds in the marketplace. And we're thankful to celebrate those. And we're also ready for the opposite side of the trade if we need be.
Well, I think that's probably a good word. There's not a ton going on in the markets. We had, I think, the largest kind of focus of this earnings season. The earnings season is every 90 days when corporations are reporting what they did over the last 90 days. The big one, I think, of this particular earnings season was NVIDIA. They announced earnings yesterday, and the market seemed pleased with that. Interestingly enough, the rest of the market had a difficult day yesterday when NVIDIA was driving it up. So it'll be interesting to watch how that all unfolds. So Memorial Day weekend is an opportunity to celebrate those who have really served and given the ultimate sacrifice on our benefit. It's an opportunity also along with that to celebrate those that you love.
Yeah, to remember your heroes.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. And I hope you all have a spectacular weekend, and I hope to see you next week. And if you think about it, if you have some friends that you want them to get involved with the ideas we're sharing here, go to our YouTube page and don't be afraid to send them the link to this one. It should be out there in the next few days. So have a great weekend, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys soon.